Thank you so much once more for your time and your patience with us. Today, we are starting the series right. Yes, indeed. And we are focusing on the strong heads, the men in ministry. We have had men participating, as roles in many different roles from time to time. And of course, within the Christian faith, to be specific, throughout history of men have played a dominant role in the leadership and governance of the church, shaping the belief and practices of Christ. And today we have one special man, one special disciple, one leader in the ministry to do just that. He has evolved so many years in the writing world. Some know him as the writing coach. And of course, he's from Washington, D.C. Yes, indeed. He is also an entrepreneur and a motivational speaker. And he's here today to share a little bit about himself. I will not say it all. So we welcome no other than Dr. Oliver Reid. We welcome you, Dr. Reid. Welcome back once more. How are you doing today?
Thank you. I'm doing great, Lady Tracy. How are you?
I am fine, and I am just excited to hear more about this prominent man of God and also what he has for us today, because I know shortly after we will be sharing a little inspiration for our men, because it's all about men in ministry this season.
Yes.
And we know we chose a specific one for a specific reason. But for those who don't know Dr. Reid, tell us, who is Oliver T. Reid?
Yes, I am a husband, a father. Many know me as a writing coach, trainer, and speaker, but people really don't know in this season of my life, I do a lot of marketplace ministry, that I'm an apostle, I'm a pastor. I'm also a servant leader, and a friend and a son. So I think that all of those kind of define who I am, and where I am specifically in my life is based upon the opportunity and circumstance that I found
Wow.
myself in.
Wow. I noticed you missed something out, but it's okay. We'll get to it. Tell us about the best-selling aspect of you, because I know that name, the writing coach, did not come by an accident. There had to be an history behind it. Tell us, what led you to this beautiful platform of being a bestseller?
Yeah, it's really because I had a whole bunch of content. Life gives you content, life gives you ups and downs, life gives you a lot of things that you can use as material content. And I just started to use those things. I grew up very broken. So I used those opportunities as the Lord led me to, I call it milk my crisis, from the standpoint of being able to use the good, bad, and ugly to help somebody else. And I always strive, Lady Tracy, from the standpoint of saying that high places in our life are really low places inverted. So at our lowest points, is really, if you turn that thing, it's a high place speaking to you. And so I started to write and put those things in and into fruition, and God just blessed me in the marketplace, and people started to buy those books because they were blessed, inspired, uplifted to His glory. And from that standpoint, I went out and said, okay, since I've done it, it took me 10 years to write my first book. And I always say we have a term here called fitna, because I was stuck in fitna. We're getting ready to, because I didn't have a system. And so I started to then, after I wrote my book, was to coach other people and bringing their stories to pass.
Just beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. Now let's get to the ministry, because we know that there's another part of Dr. Reid that many don't know. I know they seem always on social media sharing, empowering, encouraging the writing aspect of persons. But the ministry is what we want to touch right now. Tell us, what aspect of ministry do you share? And we noticed that there's a project coming up in September. What's this about?
Yes, one of the biggest things is, for me, and I said it a little bit earlier, that I grew up. I grew up without a father. I grew up without a father in my life, and was then passed on to an abusive stepfather. And I grew up very angry. But at the time, I didn't know how to process my emotions, and this time would not allow. But basically, attempted to commit suicide in 1995. Christmas Day, 1995, I found myself in a place of being suicidal as a college student, as a freshman in college. And it was all because I didn't know how to manage my emotions. I didn't know how to deal with things as a man. I was growing up, and I was still that little boy that was still trapped inside of me. And so what I've actually learned to do is minister to the men, because we understand the power of men. When men get into a place I always say this: when men are in place, the power comes,
Mhm.
right? When women are in place, the provision comes. But when men stand up, the power of God comes. And so, from that standpoint, rededicated my life to the Lord. I was always in church. My mom kept me in church. And so, I have a passion for men who are hurting. My books, everything I do in my life, my ministry evolves around restoration of men who have fallen, who have actually been in a place of going through things. And I always know that no matter where you are in life, that there's an issue somewhere, if you look inside of every man, that needs to be addressed. And so that's led me on a plight to really restore. God's been speaking to me about restoring the opportunities to speak to the whole part of man.
Wow, wow, that is very touching, Dr. Reid. And I noticed how fragile this place can be, especially to talk about. But one can never support another unless they have been to where they have been. And I think that your testimony is the key to so many others out there that are not even sharing, because we know men is not often the kind that will tell you what's going on inside. And they are not even the kind that will say, hey, I need help or I'm going to get some help. They will just sit with it and try to fix it on their own. And I'm just so thankful that you stood the test. And most importantly, you decide to stand up for men who are in the same capacity of what you have endured, and also to bring the gospel out. So tell us, what is Mud about? Because we see that Mud is coming in September, and I noticed it's not a one-year thing. It seemed to be an annual thing. Can you tell us about Mud?
Yes, Mud is the name of our conference theme this year, but our conference name is called He Men's Conference. And that he is capitalized he, as greater is he that is in us than he that is in the world.
Wow.
Right? Inside of every giant, there's a he. He that findeth a wife findeth a good thing. And I don't want to go off on a tangent, but a lot of times men feel like that he is them, but the he is the Lord inside of them, right? It's
Wow.
pleased with their choice, because when you
Greater
go to
is he that
Genesis,
is in me.
he
Wow.
so he that findeth a wife, because remember Adam was asleep, if you go back to that, he was God's choice inside of us, but not only just in marriage, but in procreation and everything that we do. There's a he inside of us, or basically, he made us after his image and likeness. So basically, mud is going to be men under divine dominion. It stands for men under divine dominion. It comes from Genesis chapter 2, where God formed man from the mud. So this takes away every excuse for mankind on the earth not to reign and rule and be who they are. So mud is going to be men under divine dominion, really getting back to the place of domain. We were only created to have dominion. We were
Amen.
not created to be dominated. We were
Mhm.
not created to be domineering. We were
Mhm.
created to have dominion. And so this is going to be amazing, calling 300 men together from all walks of life to come together and fellowship in an intimate setting. So mud is so powerful because that's who we are. When we are born, we come from the mud, and when we die, we go back to the mud.
Wow, just beautiful, Dr. Reid. And I'm just listening to you, and I'm even excited, even though I won't be there. I just think it will be an amazing event. Thank you so much. I know that every man has a king in them. And when we
Yes.
try not to get in touch with that kingship, it's an issue. And I believe that your content, especially what you will be sharing with us on our platform, is going to be great. So we look forward to hearing from you. Just before you go, Dr. Reid, where can person reach out to your coaching sessions if they want to connect with you, or even if they want to get in touch with your materials?
Yes, I'm fully branded at Dr. Oliver T. Reid, but you can go to www.drolivertreid.com. That's REID.com. Or you can actually go to www.milkwriting.system.com to
Just
connect with me.
beautiful. Thank you so much. So there you have it. Dr. Oliver T. Reid here with us today from Washington, D.C., USA, was here just to share a little bit about who he is and what he has to offer. Dr. Reid, we look forward to hearing more from you. Thank you so much for the opportunity
Thank
to
you.
speak with us today.